Most artists spend their careers trying to become bigger hits, bigger tours, bigger audiences. Jay-Z wanted something different. He wanted ownership. And that decision changed everything. Because the story of Jay-Z isn't just the story of a successful musician. It's the story of an artist who realized that fame and power are not the same thing. And once he understood the difference, he stopped playing the game the way everyone else did. For decades, the music industry followed a familiar pattern. Artists created, labels invested, fans consumed. And while a few performers became wealthy, the companies behind them often became even wealthier. The biggest names generated enormous value, but they didn't always control it. Ownership of recordings, publishing rights, distribution, brands. The infrastructure surrounding music was usually owned by someone else. For most artists, success meant negotiating better terms within that system. But Jay-Z began asking a different question. What if the goal wasn't simply to succeed inside the system? What if the goal was to own part of it? The conflict wasn't with one person. It wasn't one lawsuit. It wasn't one rival. It was something much larger. The traditional idea of what a successful artist was supposed to be. In that model, musicians focused on music. Business decisions were left to executives. Artists were the product. Others owned the platform. Others owned the distribution. Others owned the infrastructure. And when trends changed, artists often found themselves with less leverage than they expected. The challenge was obvious. How do you build something that lasts when fame itself can be temporary? How do you avoid becoming dependent on a system that can replace you? For many artists, those questions came later. For Jay-Z, they became part of a strategy. Instead of treating music as the final destination, he started treating it as the foundation. Each success created leverage. Each album created visibility. Each business relationship created opportunity. Music was still important, but it became part of a larger picture, a platform, a way to build influence beyond the recording studio. While much of the industry remained focused on sales and chart positions, Jay-Z began expanding into ownership. Not because he wanted to leave music, but because he understood something many artists didn't. The people who controlled the infrastructure often had more long-term power than the people creating the content. That shift in thinking changed everything. He wasn't simply building a career anymore. He was building assets. And assets behave differently than fame. Fame can rise and fall. Ownership can compound. The real turning point wasn't a hit song. It wasn't an award. It wasn't a tour. It was a mindset, a decision to stop measuring success exclusively through music. Instead of asking, how many records can I sell? The question became, what am I building? That perspective transformed the way people viewed artists. For years, musicians had been expected to stay in their lane, create music, perform, promote, repeat. But Jay-Z demonstrated that artists could become something else: operators, investors, builders, not by abandoning creativity, but by using creativity as a starting point for something larger. And as that vision became more visible, other artists started paying attention. Today, conversations about ownership are everywhere. Artists discuss masters, publishing rights, equity, control, brand partnerships, long-term value. Those conversations feel normal now, but they weren't always. The idea that musicians should think like entrepreneurs was not nearly as common as it is today. Jay-Z didn't create every aspect of that movement, but he became one of its most visible examples. His success helped demonstrate that artistic influence could be converted into business influence, that a musician could be more than a performer, that the end goal didn't have to be another hit. It could be control. It could be independence. It could be building something that survives long after the spotlight moves on. The most important part of this story isn't money, it's perspective. Because Jay-Z's biggest decision wasn't signing a deal, or releasing an album, or launching a company. It was changing the question. Instead of asking how to become a bigger artist, he started asking how to become harder to replace. And that single shift transformed the trajectory of his career. What began as a music career became something much larger. An example, a blueprint, a different way of thinking about success. Because sometimes the most important decision in a career is realizing that the game everyone else is playing isn't the only game available. And when Jay-Z stopped thinking like a musician, he started building an empire.